Today we're going to have a look at cholera. Now, cholera is an acute diarrheal disease caused by the bacterium Vibrio cholera. It spreads through contaminated water or food, especially in areas with poor sanitation. Now, this bacterium produces a toxin that causes the intestines to release large amounts of water, leading to severe watery diarrhea. Now, these symptoms can appear within hours and lead to death within a day if you leave it untreated, and this is due to rapid dehydration. Now, cholera causes watery diarrhea, which is often described as rice water stool. It also causes vomiting, rapid dehydration, muscle cramps, and death. Now, it is thought that cholera originated in the Ganges River Delta in India. But the best way to show the history of cholera is by looking at the major pandemics. Now, the first pandemic started in 1870 and lasted until 1824. This pandemic started in India and spread to Asia and even parts of Europe. The second pandemic then started in 1829 and lasted until 1837. This is when it reached Europe and the Americas. It then hit Europe, Africa, and North America and began the most deadly pandemic in 1846, and this lasted until 1860. It then continued to spread from 1863 until the 1920s, especially through war, trade, and colonialism. We are currently in the seventh pandemic, which started in 1961, and this is ongoing, especially in Indonesia. The current strain that we have is Al-Tor. Cholera still causes hundreds of thousands of cases each year, especially in areas with poor sanitation, conflict, or after natural disasters. It's very common in parts of sub-Saharan Africa, South Asia like Bangladesh, and Haiti, especially after the 2010 earthquake. Now, you can get cholera by drinking contaminated water or eating contaminated food. The bacteria Vibrio cholera then enters your digestive system. It moves down into your stomach. Now, we know that our stomach is very acidic. Now, this acid, namely hydrochloric acid, kills many bacteria. However, some cholera bacteria will survive, especially if the stomach acid is low. This can be due to malnutrition, medication, or even your age. The surviving bacteria then moves into the small intestine. Here they use their flagella, which is like a tail structure, to swim through the mucus and then attach to the intestinal lining using special adhesion molecules. Once they are attached, the bacteria releases a toxin called cholera toxin, or CT for short. This is the main cause of the disease symptoms. Now, our small intestine has tiny little cells in the wall of the intestine called microvilli. This microvilli is responsible for the absorption of most of our nutrients and organic molecules. Now, the cholera toxin will enter these epithelial cells. The toxin will then activate an enzyme. This enzyme will cause a rise in a signaling molecule, which then causes the cells to pump chloride ions into the intestine. Now, because we are increasing the amount of chloride ions inside of our intestine, it decreases the water potential of the inner side of our intestine, the lumen. Now, we all know what water does. Water will always move from a high water potential to a low water potential due to osmosis. Because the lumen of the intestine has now a low water potential, water will move into the lumen to balance out the water potential. With water moves sodium. This results in a massive loss of water and electrolytes from the body into the intestines. The water and the salts will flood into the gut, and the loss of profuse watery diarrhea will result. So a person becomes dehydrated very quickly when this happens, and if it is left untreated, it can lead to low blood pressure, shock, organ failure, and then in severe cases, death. Cholera is easily prevented. The first way to prevent cholera is by using clean water. So safe drinking water and water purification is very important. We also need to remember to use proper sanitation and good hygiene. So we need to take into account here toilets and waste disposal, as well as washing our hands with soap, especially when working with food or preparing food for other people. Another way cholera can be prevented is through vaccination. We can use oral cholera vaccines like Dukoral, Shankol, or Uvicol that helps prevent the spread of the disease. Lastly, we can use surveillance, and this refers to monitoring outbreaks so we can initiate an early response to get the outbreak under control. If prevention fails, then cholera can also be treated. It can firstly be treated through an oral rehydration salt mixture, which is a mixture of salts, electrolytes, and water. Now, this will replace the fluids and electrolytes and prevent the person from dehydrating too quickly. Secondly, it can be treated with IV fluids, especially for severe dehydration, to replace the fluids that are lost. It can then also be treated by antibiotics. This will shorten the duration of serious cases. So even though cholera can be deadly, it is also a preventable disease. It is currently rare in developed countries, but it remains a major health issue in parts of the world. With clean water, proper sanitation, and vaccination, it is entirely preventable and treatable.